There's a Sims 4 in my recycle bin.
I put it there. I remotely connected to your desktop as a gag.
Oh, pure hilarity.
We just recorded the most whimsical take of the season.
Yes.
Really did.
Which is true, means death for us all. Up yours, children. Why does mine look like that? And we never did.
Welcome to your new favourite podcast about your old favourite show. It is No Kids 3 Money, a Simpsons podcast through the lens of time. I didn't nearly forget it. Don't look at me like that. I'm one half of your host, Ned.
And I am Matt.
And where can the people find us, Matt?
They can find us on YouTube. We post weekly. Drop a like, comment, and subscribe. Get us up there. Get watching, especially commenting. Drop a thought in the thought hole.
Unless it's about your dad.
Correct.
No, especially if it's about your dad.
Even dad-related thought hole. Do it anyway. If you want to drop us an email, if you don't want to be, I don't know, known on the internet for dropping a comment about your dad, email us at nokids3moneypodcast@gmail.com. And on Spotify, leave us a rating. There's only one rating, and it is 5 out of 5. So we're doing good. Our fan.
Good
thinks
ratio.
so.
Yay!
You can also leave comments on Spotify, so please do that.
Yeah, rate, review, subscribe. Also available audio streaming platforms. And number 3, the
Hello.
man behind the cameras, ones and twos.
I do the beep.
You do the beep. Hello.
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 No beeping. You hear me?
Yes, sir.
No.
You just don't learn, do you?
That's a beeping.
Waving at pole there, boss. Waving at pole there, Lou.
I'm beeping what I see.
Sometimes I beep in the future. All right, what do we got in store for the people this week?
We have a quality season 2 episode, like so much so that I got a scene tattooed, which we will put a image on the screen right now.
Do you remember the way you acted at the party last night?
The way I acted? So I said I must get out of these wet clothes and into a dry martini.
Well said.
Oh, you puppets again. Thank you.
Good lord, there's a fly in my drink.
I put it there.
You did?
I slipped it into your glass as a gag.
Pure hilarity.
Pure Homer.
I pronounce it to be the most whimsical tape of the season.
Like practically.
Oh, man.
Now,
And we never did.
this episode is season 2, episode 20, titled "The War of the Simpsons."
We've been waiting for this one for a while.
Yes. The other 2 episodes are...
Obsolete.
where is the season 11 one gone? Okay, it's also a pretty notable one in terms of internet fame. Season 11, episode 10, and following up with a gutter ball, season 21, episode 12.
Fuck me, that was bad this week. It was so bad.
Even Dad has messaged me about the podcast a few times saying, "Gee, Ned's really angry at this part."
He's going to have to be a bit more specific.
Sorry, Slick, I'll turn it down.
And he always is.
Especially after this week, man. I'm fucking idling at 90. I'm
Hear that, Dad?
furious already.
Now you've really pissed him off, Dad. All right, let's get into it. Season 2, episode 20, titled "The War of the Simpsons." Synopsis reads, after Homer gets drunk at a party, Marge decides to sign them up for a marriage counseling retreat. Homer finds out the retreat will be held at Catfish Lake and packs his fishing equipment, despite Marge's telling him that all they will be doing is resolving their differences. At the lake the next morning, Homer tries to sneak away to go fishing, but Marge catches him and he takes a walk instead. On the dock, Homer finds an abandoned fishing pole. The pole, with the legendary catfish named General Sherman on the line, yanks him off the pier into a small rowboat and onto the lake. Homer catches his fish, and when he sees Marge is upset, immediately lets it go to prove his love for her.
Yes.
Says nothing about the subplot going on at home with Grandpa being left in charge with the kids, but that's all right. We'll cover that when it comes up.
Yeah, and I feel like it's once again one of those, they just sort of felt like it was necessary because they didn't want to completely fill the episode with the main plot, but there's not a huge, story going on parallel to that kind of thing. It's just, I don't know.
You know what I just realized as well is there's a massive through line for the season 2 and season 11 episodes this week, with the subplot being at home with Lisa being in charge in the season 11 episode, but not taking charge in the season 2 episode.
Or just the whole concept of like people being left at home with like a babysitter essentially.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, because Marge isn't there in the season 11 episode and neither of them are there in the season 2 episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember what happened in the season 21 episode because I don't care.
I don't care.
Yes.
Hey, Ned knows how to use the soundboard.
Got the right one.
The first sort of scene that caught my attention was a really highly used and highly popular meme. I didn't really know that this was the episode it pertained in, but it's Flanders like giving the A-OK hand signal and like he's got a really pulled back grin.
There's 3 of them specifically in this episode. They're like hugely like memed Simpsons moments, and not to jump too far ahead, but we've got that, which is like the janky Oakley Dokley frame where he's like, his neck's completely out of his shirt and he's like got a hole in his ear and all that kind of shit, and he's like his arm like melds with his face or something. Yeah. It's real fucked up.
We'll put it on the screen to see.
Then 2 minutes later, we get the after it's gone through the montage of Homer being like a drunk fuckwit at the party, like running around, jumping on the lounges and yelling at that fucking random guy, being like, I wanted to tell you this for years. And the guy goes like, Homer, like your wife and my wife are friends. We only met 3 hours ago. No, I wanted to say this forever. You stink. Your whole lousy operation stinks. And I quit. And he's just like, don't quit. And he's like, oh, okay.
Is that another highly memed thing?
No. I just wanted to get like that out because it's sort of in sequence with the next one.
Right, okay.
So he is then obviously like completely fucking plastered and asks Maud for some peanuts, and she goes to reach for some. He's like, no, not those ones, the ones at the bottom, and starts staring down at top. And that one's obviously fucking memed all the time as well. And then later on when they're at the marriage retreat, the random English couple that are there, the Queen of the Harpies thing, that's fucking everywhere as well.
Right, okay. Did you know what that was referencing?
No. Wait, which one? The Queen of the Harpies one?
Yeah. No, I didn't write it down either. Mustn't have been that cool.
And we never did.
That's okay. I got a good Dr. Hibbert quote pretty quickly into the show. This is after Homer's...
Rule of threes.
In what way?
The fake fly gag. Homer brings it up at the start of the show. Hibbert notices it, and then it comes back in the penultimate scene.
The greatest scene of all time. Yeah, true. So Homer's like highly inebriated at this point and passed out face down. Or no, he's on his back.
Sorry. Yeah. We're talking about 2 different things, but yes,
okay.
Go on.
And when Dr. Hibbert's leaving the dinner party that's been ruined by Homer, he says to Marge, remember, if you want him to live through the night, roll him onto his stomach. Oh, thank you, Dr. Hibbert. Remember, I said if.
Yeah. Heavily implying that it's like, I want him to fucking die.
Yeah. It's like he's known around the town as that type of cunt.
Just a fucking drunk idiot.
Yeah.
But I thought you were referring to the early Hibbert scene where he says, like, Homer walks up to him and asks if he's having a good time, and he says, like, yeah, but somebody's put one of these fake novelty ice cubes in my drink, and Homer's like, I gotcha, and he's like, well, actually, these things are filled with very fucking toxic chemicals and stuff. It'd actually be more sanitary to have a regular fly in there. And Homer's just like, just like not giving a fuck about anything he has to say.
Yeah, that's it. And then the next scene that I've written down is the morning after the dinner party. He's like still on the ground and Marge is vacuuming around him and like hits him a few times to wake him up with the vacuum. And then like he gets up and the cat runs out from underneath him and there's just shit all underneath him too.
Yeah.
And then asks Homer to come out to the car. She wants to have a conversation. And then you can follow what happens there.
Oh, fuck, it's so good. It's just like she drags him out to the car because she's like, I don't want the kids to hear us fighting or know that we're fighting, and instantly cuts to the window. You can hear the Mexican hat dance playing in the background, and Bart's like, they're fighting in the car again.
Whenever that song comes on, I get chills down my spine.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just so dark, but so fucking funny.
Maybe like Marge and Homer don't give them enough credit for like being as perceptive as they are as well.
I feel like it's like in relation to last week with the Miss Hoover thing, it's another one of those, like, kids are good at pattern recognition. It's like if you do that enough around kids, they're going to understand that it's like, oh, okay, this is obviously something they don't want to hear, and they look like they're in a bad mood, so they look like they're fighting.
Yeah, yeah. Or just like as a kid being told like one thing, but it's actually another.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, eventually you can
falls into
start to
that.
see through it.
100%. My next note is just gag Ice Cube scene. It's the fucking best.
Oh, so
Marge asks him to recount what had happened last night, and he has that dream state where it sort of floats off, and it's mimicking. I've got it written here. So Homer's false memory of the party the following day, in which he imagines himself as being erudite and witty instead of drunk, is a reference to the Algonquin Round Table, a group of New York City writers, critics, actors, and wits. The animation style and color scheme matches a typical cover of the New Yorker featuring the magazine's Eustace Tilley character.
right, because I couldn't figure out where to play. Like, I've seen that animation style before, but I couldn't figure out where to place it.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And as soon as we watched this, we must have watched it previously, obviously because I got the tattoo of it.
Yeah.
But just how well-rounded that whole sequence is.
It's just perfect. There's not a wasted, like, moment in it.
No. Good Lord, there's a fly in my drink.
I put it there.
Slipped into your drink as a gag.
Pure hilarity. Pure Homer.
I declare this the most whimsical jape of the season.
The way that he says that. Most whimsical jape of the season.
We were rehearsing it this morning and just like crushing our voices as much as possible. And there was like a Mandela effect. We always thought there was the word brilliant before that guy says this is the most whimsical jape of the season.
Yeah.
It's
He
not
says, I
there.
declare it the most whimsical jape of the season. But yeah, we always thought he said the word brilliant, but apparently he doesn't. So I must be like transposing two quotes in my head.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So if you haven't seen that scene, do yourselves a favor.
Oh, if you haven't seen this episode, do yourselves a favor. It's a very good episode overall. So they have that argument in the car, and then Marge, I can't remember whether it's before or after they go to church where she says you need to go upstairs and explain to Bart like what he saw last night.
After.
All right. So yeah, they go to church. Lovejoy does that whole.
Remember who was sitting in church?
Oh, that's right. Why the fuck is Hitler in church?
Correct. Why was he even animated in this show to begin with?
I don't understand. It's literally like there's a fucking the scene where Homer walks into church like late. And I think the scene that I was just talking about might be before it because my notes are
right. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll get this note out before we focus on that.
Right.
He goes upstairs and talks to Bart about like what he saw last night and how he hopes that he hasn't lost any respect for him. And Bart says, "Dad, I have as much respect for you as I ever did and I ever will." And Homer's like, "Oh, thanks, boy." Which once again is just like another one of those, like I said last week, the same. It's the same way that Bergstrom says that, and this must be your father thing. It's like Homer takes that as a compliment, but in reality, Bart is saying, I have no respect for you. I never have, and I never will.
Correct. Like, nothing you do will like change.
Exactly.
My mind on it.
Like you're already at rock bottom. Like nothing you do is going to take it any lower. And Homer's just like, oh, thanks, boy, because he thinks it's a compliment.
Yeah.
Because he's just
stupid to
completely
understand.
oblivious and self-centered.
Yeah.
So we then go to the next scene of him being late to church because Marge went by herself and he's like going through the pews, like trying to look for a place to sit. And the second or third person he walks up to is literally Hitler.
Yeah. And weirdly enough, why did they choose this episode to put him in when last week's episode had Dustin Hoffman, who is Jewish?
I just don't understand.
Like, is it actually Hitler though?
It is.
Dude, 100%.
I even read in the show notes of it that it was Hitler.
It looks like, because there is a character, right?
Should we put a?
It sort of looks
Should
like
we put that up?
No. There's a
President Gerald Ford with a Hitler.
Kinda. There's another character even more specific. It is like a Fox News anchor or something like that. That character model is used as later on in the series, but they literally like just change his hair a little bit and give him the full Hitler mustache.
We'll put a
screen cap up of it because like we both looked at it and we were like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like it can't be anything else.
It was confirmed as well.
Yes,
so.
exactly.
That's wild.
Like,
it is fucking insane.
Maybe the most poorly timed. Maybe they didn't realize, as we've discussed before, they probably write these episodes not in the sequence they eventually air them.
What do you mean poorly timed? World War II was in 1947.
I
Just
know.
like syndication wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I get what you mean. Right. Yeah, like the last week being focused on a Jewish actor and then, having Hitler
Yes.
there. It just also makes no sense to me that made it past the Disney censors. Because surely that's something that they would cut out.
Yeah, that's true.
They cut out an entire episode about Michael Jackson. They wouldn't cut out one tiny scene with Hitler
Yeah. Well,
for Disney.
There
I guess
isn't
it's one tiny, like,
but they bring
5
Hitler
sec-
back for another episode.
Yeah, but if anybody's going to cop flack for being fucking, like, hating Jews, it's Disney.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you'd think that
Being
they would
happy
want to
with
try
airing
and
that.
scrub their record clean of that. Walt Disney was like a recognized
oh yeah, he was.
anti-Semite.
Oh yeah.
He hated them.
Okay. That probably makes sense as to why it was put in here, but I suppose he didn't
Well, this
write
is
the
also
show.
like well before the Fox
That's true.
acquisition.
Yeah.
True. Interesting
And then
indeed.
also, like,
Simpsons predicted it.
I don't know, like if they wanted to like retroactively remove episodes, like there are episodes of like Family Guy and American Dad that have way worse shit in them.
They depict him, yeah.
Oh, I'm not
Yeah.
saying remove the episode. I'm just surprised they didn't literally remove that 2-second fucking frame.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, that surprises me.
Does the character have any lines?
No,
like,
but he's
Doesn't say a word.
blatant. It's obvious who he is.
Yeah.
One of history's greatest villains.
Speaking of like banning things or sort of cutting things out, a lot of like foreign countries, Japan for example, don't air particular episodes for whatever reason, and the season 11 episode this week isn't aired in Japan because there's something weird about leprosy. So I'll cover that more when we get to that season 11 episode, but it's just because it came up naturally now, I thought I'd mention it.
Interesting.
Mm.
Well, I don't actually have any other notes for like the rest of the main plot of the episode. So what have you got?
So I just made just like a dot point of marriage retreat. So just what happens there essentially. So after the whole church sequence of Homer interrupting, Reverend Lovejoy like calls him out on it basically, and then says that he offers like a marriage counseling retreat on the weekends, and there's a sign up page near the door. So on your way out, if you want to sign up, do that. And then Marge is walking over there straight away, and Homer's like oblivious to that fact, and then looks over and sees her and goes, "Oh shit, what the fuck are you doing?"
Well, I feel like it's another one of these episodes, like specifically relating to last week, where the main plot focuses on heavier themes, and then the side plot is really like the whole comedic relief part of the episode.
Definitely.
But we'll get to that later on. So they go to the marriage retreat, and then we get that Queen of the Harpies scene where Lovejoy like just instantly solves their marriage, and they walk out happily into the field, and then it's just Maude and Ned Flanders and Homer and Marge. So Lovejoy sort of asks, he starts talking to Flanders about something, and his gripe is the fact that Maude underlines passages in his Bible when she can't find her own. And Homer's just like, well, that's not really a fucking problem.
That was
And
the only problem too.
yeah, their only fucking problem. And then Homer gets asked like why he feels like he's there. So he says like,
Marge is kind of annoying sometimes. And that was it.
says that's it. So then Marge starts, and then we just get this time lapse of her like talking for what seems like 12, 13 hours. And she's just like hoarse and fucking
By the end of it.
tired by the end of it. Just like,
And like her hair's like
yeah,
droopy as well.
like she's been sweating profusely.
He scratches himself with his keys. Like a couple of
I think that's it. She sounds like a mum.
yeah. Okay, we've missed the luau, so I suppose we'll just go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah, then we get that like scene the next morning, which from a personal place, this actually kind of annoyed me.
Of what? Them waking up or Homer.
Homer waking up at like 5:30 in the morning, right? Yes, he's on a marriage retreat or whatever like that. But I used to cop this fucking shit all the
I
time.
can see where you're going
Of
with
like
this.
waking up, like it kind of annoyed me because it's like, yeah, Marge, you weren't going to wake up for like another 2.5 hours or whatever the fuck it is.
So
Let
what
the
does
man
it
go
matter?
fishing.
Yep.
Kind of shit. Because I used to cop that shit all the time, trying to wake up early on Sundays, going to watch fights and stuff. Why can't you stay in bed? Because it's like my only fucking day off, cunt. And I want to do what I want. You're not going to get up until fucking midday. Shut your mouth.
Close your eyes, Dad.
Oh, you thought the season 21 rants were bad. Wait till I get into my personal problems. But yeah, like that just like that did it like throw me off a little bit.
I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah. So
Like actually personally triggered you.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, we're turning this podcast into No Kids 3 therapy for you, Ned.
Yeah, we're gonna have the dude on with his dad next week. We'll Ouija board.
Cynicism at an all-time high.
So she tells him to come
I
back
don't
to.
even know who you are, but I hate you.
Hey, I just got here. What's going on? So,
You ugly, dadless man. Oh, I love how he said we'd never reference that comment. And God, we have. See how far we run with someone who comments?
Yeah,
this
that's
could
it.
be you.
Imagine if you wrote something positive.
Exactly.
So yeah, she tells him to come back to bed, and he tosses and turns for a couple of seconds, and then goes, "I can't sleep. Can I go for a walk?" Which is instantly the same thing.
Exactly.
It's like it makes no difference whether he's going fishing or whether he's going for a walk. He's leaving at the same time in the morning.
Although I feel like Marge is in a more sleep state when she says sure, because she takes a while to respond to that, whereas like she woke up visibly and told him not to go anywhere.
I suppose, yeah. Then he goes for like a quick walk down to the pier, and some kid walks off without his fishing rod, and then he grabs it and goes say like, "Oh, you left your fishing rod here," and gets pulled into the lake by the giant catfish.
Yeah.
Not only gets pulled into the lake, gets pulled off the wharf into a boat.
Yeah.
And he's then getting pulled along by the fish.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a note of when he's getting bait from the bait shop on the way. There's like a dude whittling something at
Yep.
the table. And yeah, it just brought up I whittles what I sees.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So that was maybe a first like Easter egg put in my brain of whittling, I guess.
Yeah, because it does come up a few times in the show, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
The only piece of media I can ever think of where I've ever seen whittling.
Exactly. And I think like the shopkeep deserves like a pretty honorable mention for this episode, because he was quite good. Like when Homer came in buying bait, because I don't even know if he'd heard about this giant catfish yet, but like the shopkeep tells him the origin story of General Sherman. And
Yeah.
there's like a sort of, I don't know, silhouette photo of the catfish in the lake, which resembles the Loch Ness Monster photo.
Oh, yeah, it does too.
And then fast forward to the end of the episode where there's another random guy in that shop, and he's telling the origin story of how mighty Homer was to like catch this.
It was fucking
like
He was 7 feet tall, arms like tree trunks,
yeah,
had a voice like thunder, and hair
that's right,
red,
yeah,
bushy,
a sprig of hair.
something like that. Just
Yeah.
making him out to be this absolute like fantasy character,
Adonis.
essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite good.
I can't remember. Well, the main plot kind of wraps up after that, because it's essentially just like Homer being dragged around the lake by the catfish, then Marge going inside and Lovejoy saying like, "Oh, you know, you're 100% right in everything you're saying, and it's not often that I would like, or not ever that I would say this to somebody in a relationship."
Yeah,
I can't remember whether she even responds to that or whether she just goes straight back outside to the wharf to try and
she
find
just
him.
goes straight back out.
Right, which is when we get, that nice sort of another scene of like, I don't know, he wasn't really like forced into this realization kind of thing, but just through his own like machinations and thought processes, coming to the conclusion that Marge wanted him to come to all along.
Yeah,
Or just by sort of doing that one thing, which, we'll explain. He drags the fish all the way up to the fucking wharf, and she says, like,
he's
this was
singing.
obviously more important to you. And he says, no, I'll throw it back if, like, that's what you want me to do. And I don't even think
She
she said,
scoffs at it and says, "Sure, you will."
sure you will. And he literally goes, like, watch, which is a sort of a little bit of a through line back to last week, like, and a couple of points that I've made before of, like, Bart and Homer don't seem to have this, like, great relationship, but they do share so many fucking qualities, which is just that. And it's a typical male thing of like, oh, you don't think I'll do it? Well, I'll do it.
Yeah, That's it. When you're challenged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he throws it back and then sort of instantly comes to the realization. It's like, wow, I did that and I did that for you.
Yeah.
And he turns around and says, like, you think our marriage has problems?
Yeah. And then they kiss and make up.
Yes.
There was one other note that I forgot to drop in the like marriage counseling scene with those like Ned, Maud, Homer and Marge and the English couple. So material cut from the episode's script included many couples who were supposed to be at the retreat instead of the Flanders family, such as Mr. Burns and his mail-order bride, and Mrs. Krabappel trying to reunite with her estranged husband, Ken Krabappel. One of the writers said the scene played out horribly bad, and it appeared as if Mr. Burns' mail-order bride was a prostitute. The Ken Krabappel character was supposed to be based on singer Dean Martin, but somehow he ended up with a southern accent that made him sound like a hick. So there is some like trial and error in some of these things. It'd be interesting. I think maybe on the DVDs there is deleted scenes and stuff like that, so that might be worth watching at some point.
Yeah, maybe.
But it's funny, like,
And we never
it'd be nice to know what doesn't make the cut and for what reasons, because I assume like commentary would say why it was cut just like that did.
Yeah.
But even more so for like the later seasons, what they cut out, how much worse it could have been than what it is.
Yeah, or I just like to see the comparison, really. Because, you know, even like if you judge like some of the later seasons, what they think is good generally isn't good. So
we're going to touch on that today.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that's even
lots
like
of bad episodes in there?
A running joke as well, because does Ken Krabappel ever appear or have any voice lines?
No,
in
but he's
any episode?
mentioned literally last week.
Was he?
In the Bergstrom episode when like that, where we spoke about the graduate reference, she says something, or he asks if there's a Mr. Krabappel, and she says, she says there hasn't, like she's still technically married, but she hasn't seen him since he moved into his little love nest or whatever. So that actually like plays pretty well.
Yeah, even like other episodes where like her and Skinner get together and stuff like that, or like think about it now as like the character's never mentioned by a first name.
No,
ever.
I don't think.
And you never even see him.
Yeah,
ever.
I was going to say. Like, there is no depiction of what he would look like apart from what that said there, who it was going to parody.
And I think that's funnier that way as well.
Definitely.
Like, just like him being like this ominous figure that just like fucks with Krabappel's life. Like, oh, sugar in the gas tank. Your ex-husband strikes again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we're up to the subplot.
The subplot, which once again, like I said, doesn't have a whole lot of substance to it, but is just sort of used as the comedic relief.
Yeah.
So like they go to the marriage retreat and they try to get a babysitter. That is like, that scene was fucking great. But the babysitter turns up and she's like, Simpson. And she's trying to figure it out. And then Bart walks around the corner and he's like, oh, you back for more, eh?
Yeah.
And she cuts to this like memory in her head. He's got a fucking diaper on and a fucking like dummy pacifier in his mouth. And he's driving the car, like literally trying to run her over on the front lawn.
That was parodying something as well. I just didn't think it was important enough to write down. But
what was it?
I can't remember because I didn't write it down.
Oh, okay.
But it parodied something.
I don't care.
I'll just keep this then. Well done.
So, yeah. They realize that there's not going to be any babysitter that can get it at a late notice, which is also like a recurring theme that they come up, like a recurring joke that they make, that no one will babysit for The Simpsons. They've already made it and they make it a couple of other times as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, they've run out of people at the babysitting service. Like, the first time we see the babysitting service being called, their photos are already up there being like, don't help these people, basically.
Isn't it the first episode? Second episode. It's one of the very first episodes.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, so they rely on Grandpa, or they realize that they're going to have to rely on Grandpa, and starts like giving him all these fucking notes and stuff like that. Like, this is what
when something goes
this
wrong.
is what you call when Maggie eats this, or like fucking falls near this, or this happens to her, and he's just like, I'm not senile, I can read.
Yeah.
And then as she's walking out, gives the note to the kids of like, this is what happens when Grandpa, call this number if Grandpa falls down in the bath. I heard that.
Yeah.
Then as soon as the Marge and Homer drive off, Bart gives him this other fucking piece of paper.
That they forgot to give him.
Yeah. You can smoke cigars.
You're allowed to smoke cigars?
Then I think the next scene is them doing the shopping.
Yeah.
And then, like Lisa's in the fucking...
No, Bart's in the like deep freezer pulling out all these different types of ice cream with a cigar lit in his mouth.
Just all different variations of chocolate. And then like Grandpa's like, is this all the stuff that's actually on the list? And it shows the list and it says like broccoli, carrots, like all meats and stuff. And Lisa's like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think is when she sort of starts to have that first little moral dilemma of like, maybe we're taking advantage of Grandpa and we shouldn't be doing that. But Bart doesn't really give a fuck.
Yeah.
Then he organizes for a party to happen at their house, and just like this montage scene of him calling everybody, which, as you mentioned before, is the first appearance of Snake in the show.
Correct. And he's in a jail cell and he's like, all right, I get out at 12 and I got a party at 2.
Yeah. Just fucking keen as to go. And he calls like Otto. He's like, yeah, sure, I can bring some of my friends, but my friends are weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then he says something even weirder later on when the actual party's happening.
Go on.
He's sitting in a chair and he says something. Well, it's not weird. It's actually, I suppose it's a weird thing to say just in general, but like in actual like legality context, it's like the right thing to say,
right,
I suppose. Because he says like, hey, Bart, is there any girls over the age of 8 here?
Yeah.
And Bart's like, I don't know. The afternoon's young.
Yeah. Yeah, at the time it sort of sounded worse than what it actually is, as you
But
just
he's
described.
actually like asking, is there any women here of age that I could actually fucking, you know, bang? Because I'm a degenerate.
Yeah.
But I'm not that kind of degenerate.
Yeah, there's a line.
Looking at you, Cosby.
He's grooming me.
And then everybody sort of like fucks off. Oh, Grandpa's walking around the house like trying to control all the chaos, and then completely gives up and starts crying on the couch.
I've got a quick moment with Grandpa and a first iteration of something. So like he's trying to like take control back and everyone's just fucking loose as. And there's a scene of Nelson in the kitchen with something, and Grandpa says to him like he's going to take his belt off and teach him a lesson. And then he takes his belt off and his pants fall down.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a recurring gag in the series too.
How long was that?
Boing. And I think there is like other instances of it happening, not just this time and the Hellfish episode either.
And I'm not sure if it's always the Grandpa as well, but that's specific. Yeah, just like the belt coming off and then the pants comically falling down like a second later.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that was something we had to.
And I can't. Is this the first instance of Nelson saying like "haw haw" as well? Like "ha ha"? Because he says it 3 times. He doesn't say like "ha ha" like he usually does.
Oh,
It's not like.
Not the catchphrase.
Yeah, so maybe this is the first iteration of that as well, because he goes "haw haw haw," like that.
Yeah, I haven't really like picked up on if he has done it or not. He hasn't been like a regularly used character yet.
No, he was featured in that episode, obviously, where he was like beating up Bart and stuff like that. But apart from that, he's just been a side character.
Yeah,
hasn't really been like used in any way yet.
Yeah, that's it.
So yeah, Bart immediately starts to feel like bad, and Lisa says like you should feel bad.
He doesn't know what that feeling is.
Yeah,
and she says it's remorse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you piece of shit. And he says, like, well, how do we fix it? And she says, like, oh, we can, like, clean like we never cleaned before. And as they walk out the door, it shows that Grandpa was just faking it the entire time to get them to do what he wants.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not something you'd attribute Grandpa to with, like, some sort of cunning scheme like that.
Yeah.
To basically get them back the same way they got him.
Which I thought they were just going to sort of leave that as it was, but then they actually bring that back as like the very ending of the episode of Grandpa fucking saying that I was faking it and you guys think I'm dumb and old, but
Runs away.
really I'm saying, then runs away.
Like he's never going to see him again.
Which made like he's running away from the scene of a crime.
Yeah.
It made no sense to me, but it was also like just funny as well, because it's like, why is Grandpa just jogging away? Like, this is so weird.
He's very slowly getting away. I don't have many more notes. There was one more quote here. It was when Grandpa was like serving Bart and Lisa coffee. And he pours Lisa's cup and goes, "Sugar? 10, please." Just like clearly the kids don't normally drink coffee. That's why she has to like...
Bart's just sitting there fucking shaking.
I told you before, we are allowed to have coffee.
Can you top me off, Grandpa? Are you sure your kids are allowed to have coffee? I told you before, yes!
Yeah.
freaking out.
ferociously lashes out.
Fucking tweaking the fuck out.
It's like when Fry gets the 100 cups of coffee with his $300.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like reaches enlightenment by the end of it. And there was
Saved by some mysterious orange blur.
there's one honorable mention for the McBain short clip that was in the show too. So is that Mendoza? Or it's McBain's boss or something?
Yeah, McBain's like police captain, essentially. Typical police captain.
Yeah.
You know, you're at a line, insert
Mustache.
action hero's name here.
Yeah. And then he says something about that's not being by the I can't do anything with this little pea shooter. And then he says
That cannon of yours is against regulations.
It's in
Around
the
here, we do things by the book.
by book.
Blows it through the wall.
Yeah. I think they've used McBain quite well up until this point. Like, he's not known as Randy Wolfcastle yet. It's just through the action hero movies.
Just like an Arnold Schwarzenegger parody.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
The white button.
Enter symptoms now.
Let's see. Crusty sores,
Yes,
horrible wailing,
yes, yes!
any exposure to unsanitary conditions?
Duh, we're pigs.
Okay, and diagnose.
You've got leprosy.
Leprosy!
Ah!
Unclean! Unclean!
Unclean! Help us, virtual doc. Look at me. I'm on my knees.
Goodbye.
All right.
Get ready, everybody. He's about to explode in anger.
He's about to do something stupid.
All right, season 11, episode 10, titled Little Big Mum. Synopsis reads, while the Simpson family goes skiing, Marge remains at the ski lodge due to her fear of the sport, only to have her leg broken by a falling clock. Is it a falling clock? I wager some sort of bet that it's some type of walking clock.
Oh, fucking... Damn it. You stole my note.
I told you he was about to get angry.
Yeah, unfortunately, Alfalfa was orphaned on by the studio.
As a result, while hospitalized, Marge leaves Lisa to deal with the slovenly Bart and Homer, who do nothing but take their toll on their house. In a desperate attempt to motivate them, she pulls a prank suggested by the ghost of Lucille Ball on Bart and Homer by making it look like they have leprosy. At Ned Flanders' suggestion, Bart and Homer end up in Hawaii. With them gone, Lisa finishes cleaning the house as Marge arrives home, her cast off. The pair then go to retrieve Homer and Bart, who are enjoying themselves despite the shock therapy. It's not shock therapy either. It's like
Needle therapy.
Yeah.
Electric needle therapy. So you
And
can
like-
say that it's some form of shock therapy.
some form of disc sanding as well.
Yeah, that was fucking pretty abrasive.
Yeah.
It's a nice play on words there. Abrasive.
Well done.
Yeah.
I put it there.
See myself out. My first note is, how does he roll all the way back to the house?
Yeah. My first note is rescuing shit from the attic.
Yeah.
So context-wise, Marge is trying to sneak out the front door while the rest of them are watching TV, and they're like glued to the TV, not really realizing that she's there, but they do.
Yeah, they don't even, like, no one even looks at her, but Lisa goes like, what's in the box, Mom?
Yeah. And then she says, oh, nothing. It's just so-and-so. And then,
Bart says something about her being nervous.
yeah. Why is your voice like that? And then Homer, what does Homer say when he gets off the couch?
Get her, she's doing something.
Yeah, that's it. So she's put the like thing of shit that she wants to throw out in the Goodwill truck, and as the family are all running out to stop her, she tells the Goodwill guy to like go, and like the car wouldn't start, and like it does just as Homer gets there, and then Homer chases it down, rescues the
Is that
dog.
another Terminator reference?
Yeah, it didn't have the music this time, but yeah,
Pretty
or it
much.
seemed more similar to like Toy Story.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. So yeah, Homer gets the box and, as you said, falls out or jumps back out of the moving truck and like rolls whilst like holding up this box of crap.
Keeping it completely level and then manages to roll all the way back in front of his house.
Yeah. Oh, thank God. This is our spare Christmas tree stand. And the box for this.
And the box for my pitch pack. If I still had it, I could put it in here.
Just clearly things that need to be disposed
Do
of.
not fucking need.
Yeah.
And then, like, she says something about him being really impulsive. And she's like, look, you bought these skis after the Nagona. I think she says Nagona Olympics. And you've never even taken them. Before she even finishes the sentence, he's like, hey, I know, let's go skiing.
Yeah. Funny that the Olympics and skiing, or just ice sports in general, are mentioned. That's now a through line to the season 21 episode.
It is.
It's basically an Olympic sport that's showcased in it.
That's the best part of it. It happened in another episode.
Of course.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, I think they really bring up like how they're going to get into the main plot or like their zany adventure well in these types of episodes. Like instead of just like being at the ski resort, they build up to it by that. Like they could have just not had that gag at all and started at the ski resort and we wouldn't have sort of known any different, but they've like sort of unknowingly made the story up by throwing out that crap.
And I feel like they do that in episodes specifically like this where there isn't really a side plot. Because like there's a tiny, tiny side story with like Marge being in hospital and a couple of scenes of her just like enjoying her like relaxation time. But it's not really a like plot in the sense of the word. It's just a little, you know, like throwaway for a couple of minutes, or not even minutes, like a minute or something like that before you go back to the main.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
First prize. These notes I hear feel pretty sharp.
The first instance of a sign gag for a little while is when they got to the ski resort, it said Mount Embolism, and I never looked it up.
A pulmonary embolism.
What's that mean?
Pulmonary, it's like a
blood?
word. It's like the technical term for a heart attack.
Yeah, we stop and
Embolism meaning a block in an artery caused by blood clots or other substances such as fat globules, infected tissue, or cancer cells.
So what?
Mount embolism. It's essentially
Meaning
just saying
it's like a big blood clot.
essentially, yeah. Or it's like Mount heart attack or something like that.
Right, okay.
I assume that's the joke that they're making.
Yeah. Yeah, wasn't one of their best in retrospect, but
Yeah, but it's only focused on for a second, so it doesn't need to be fucking perfect.
yeah. I think just like using a word that not everyone knows the meaning of also draws your attention. Like, what the fuck was that?
Exactly.
Like, that's exactly what we did. And yeah, it doesn't have to be funny all the time, but
I think the joke is that it's just like, oh, it's a big word. That's the joke. Yeah.
Makes sense.
I get it. I get jokes.
So this is another highly memed, highly well-known scene from The Simpsons. So we get stupid sexy Flanders, which is just like everyone that even remotely knows what The Simpsons is would know stupid sexy Flanders.
Iconic fucking joke.
So Homer's at like the top of the mountain looking at which trail to use.
Right, so this has a double meaning.
Go on.
So the first sign that now I need to look at my notes for a second. The first like name of the trail, or the like first trail name is called the Widowmaker. Then the second one is called the Spine Buster, and then I can't remember what the third one's called. It's something to do with like shitting your pants, essentially. So obviously, like the first name, the Widowmaker, need to go back and look at that. Widowmaker is a Widowmaker heart attack, also known as an STEMI, is a type of heart attack that occurs due to a 100% blockage in the left anterior descending LAD artery, the largest artery supplying blood to the heart. This blockage can lead to a high risk of death and is often fatal if not treated immediately. So there's your through line to Mount Embolism.
Yep.
But the Widowmaker and the Spine Buster specifically are also WWE finishes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who had those finishing moves?
Some dude called Sean O'Hare did the Widowmaker, and the Spine Buster was kind of a bunch of different people.
Right, okay. It was sort of like a specialty move, not a
finisher. So like the way that like wrestling moves evolved, if you watch them throughout like however long it's been around, is like a lot of moves that like were finishes back in the day just end up being like regular parts of people's repertoire, because obviously they need to change it and make it more exciting and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Makes sense.
Nice little double meaning there.
Yeah, very nice.
But continue.
So Homer chooses the third option, the shitting the pants, as you do. And just before he's about to sort of descend, another skier comes in and sort of sprays him with ice, and he's basically like cowering of like how big and muscly this dude looks because it's like a skin tight outfit.
Yeah.
And then pulls the visor up and it's Flanders. And Flanders basically says, oh, what does he say? I can't remember what leads up to it, but it's just that iconic line of, it feels like I'm wearing nothing at all. And then that's when Homer's like struggling to look at him.
And he starts sliding down the hill.
Yeah, goes backwards at first, and then he's like, all right, how do I get out of this? And like thinks back to the ski instructor telling him what to do in like a dangerous situation. And it's like, all right, all you have to do if you're in this situation is, feels like I'm wearing nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. And then screams and says, oh, stupid sexy Flanders. And then
his legs
split. And then he's groaning at how painful it is.
He says this is the worst pain ever, then immediately starts getting smashed in the balls.
Homer gets flogged in the cock the whole way down the mountain was my note.
And they even like they do it in the cadence of how he says ow.
Yeah.
He's like ow, 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 and every single time one of them hits.
Thump,
and
thump.
then he does that like elongated scream for a second and then he goes ow, and then it's like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, and they every single time he says ow, it hits.
Yeah.
That was a nice little touch. And then he does like a fucking triple backflip and lands on his face. Immediately just gets up and he's like, single.
Yeah. Goes back up. Yeah.
So yeah, then we cut to Marge, who has like abandoned the children at the top of the hill and is sitting in the ski lodge.
Yeah.
Which was the best touch of all because, you know, they've all been out skiing all day on obviously dangerous trails, or we get that scene of Lisa nearly getting mauled by a bunch of vicious deer.
Oh, that was fucking
The guy
great.
on the snowmobile turns out, leave those deer alone.
Yeah.
They were going to eat me. What, those deer? And then it just replays the same
Like
scene.
jumping around happily.
All happy.
Yeah.
And she looks back and they're fucking growling at her
Snarling.
again.
Yeah.
So yeah, then we get Marge down in the ski lodge and Disco Stew tries to hit on her for a second, realizes that she has kids and runs off. And they all come in and talking about how she's essentially just fucking boring. She's like, oh, well, I'd rather like enjoy myself than be out there and get hurt. And then as she says that, the clock falls down and smashes her in the leg, which is where I had the note.
Okay, I've got a note too, but you first.
I'd wager that Marge broke her leg from some variety of fallen clock.
Oh, God. That's great. Weird that it came up before you said it.
Oh, that's why I was like, I think he's going to say something. You stole my bet.
It makes more sex now. Louis, sex read good. Oh. It makes more sense now with context was what I meant to say. I've killed the original Ned. So in that same
I can imagine you have my undivided attention, but instead of the monkey, it's just him going.
bashing a cymbal on my cock.
I was about to say, nah, the clap sound's still there. It's just not a cymbal.
Oh, well done.
Hi, Jeff. Glad you're listening. I'm just glad I don't have to explain this to my dad.
That's fine.
What's a podcast? Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Easy was. My note on that same clock section was the buff.
You had to really try to say clock there, didn't you?
Section
Don't worry, it
instead
crossed
of
my mind too. I was
sex.
like, the cock section.
Cock section. So the two like buff guys come running out of wherever they run out from, thinking they're going to come over and help Marge because
Buff guys? Cock section?
I would call them girthy.
Veiny bastard. Big veiny triumphant bastards come running out. So they run straight past where Marge is and go to the clock.
Yeah.
And then they're like looking for the culprit. That's like the third clock-related injury we've seen or something like that. And they're like, oh, there's the culprit. And like the bent nail has just sort of twisted downwards.
They just turn it back up.
And a really good like visual thing is them both needing like both hands to pick this clock up, and they're like audibly grunting at how heavy it is. And they put it back on that same busted hook and it sort of creaks slowly.
They just like,
and then they just walk away from it.
back away from it.
But what made it sort of stand out to me was the way in which those dudes just blatantly ran past Marge, who was hurt. So it's a real life through line for me. On the night of Mitch's year 10 or year 12 formal, I was riding down the street on my bike next to the car that he was in. And I was like on the dirt on the side of the road and like went up this little jump. And because I wasn't fully paying attention, like I was looking at the car as well, I missed the seat when I landed and like landed on the frame of the bike on my balls. And I was still like rolling. I was going like, I don't know, 10 Ks an hour. So like pretty fast for a bike downhill, and yeah, crushed my nuts and had my head on the handlebars. And as I lifted my head up, I got collected by a mailbox. And it knocked me off my bike, and the mailbox fell off as well. The guy came out of his house and goes, oh, fuck me, mailbox. I'm literally like laid flat on the ground. Yeah. So it was just perfectly reminiscent of that real life situation that I found myself in. Except it wasn't a big, buff, triumphant cunt. It was actually Mitch's friend's dad, who just gave no fucks about me, apparently.
Oh, fuck.
If you're listening, Mr. Jansen, fuck you.
Oh, that's great.
I hope his mailbox is better.
His mail hole.
Ooh.
What do you call it?
I remember he zip tied it back on. So like I broke the weld off of it. That's how hard I hit
Fuck.
it. Yeah, with my face. Now I'll knock my face off with your mailbox.
I didn't sustain any brain damage.
Stupid blower pope.
What about my mailbox to your face style?
So, yeah, Marge goes to the hospital and her leg's been fucking shattered, and she sort of comes to the conclusion that somebody's going to have to look after the family, and Lisa pipes up and says, oh, I can do it. And
it's not such a hard job.
Yeah, not such a hard job. I've seen you do it. And Marge is just like, oh, get fucked, you little cunt.
With a few finishing touches, I think I might be able to like bring up the pace of the
make it
house.
more efficient.
That was the words she used, yeah.
Marge is just like, oh, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Yeah, go on then.
Which is a very, all right, so like relating back to the theme that we sort of had at the start of the episode of Homer being challenged and instantly being like, all right, fuck you, this is how it is. It's a very like male and female thing. Like men are very like, it always happens. Men are very likely to just like off the cuff like react to a situation like that, whereas women are more likely to sort of take the step back and go, oh, okay, well, I'll see how this works out for you.
Yep. Matt loves root.
Kinda? I don't know.
Everyone's scared when Ned slanders.
Not me.
Everyone beware of Ned's slanders.
I feel like in today's day and age, someone's going to have a fucking problem with it. So
I think in like looking at it from a perspective now, that's actually like saying that women are superior than men, which I don't doubt at all in terms of their thought processes.
Yeah, 50-50.
No, think about the story. Think about the story that Matt just told. He's probably right.
Yeah. Imagine if like Mitch's friend's mum came running out instead of his dad.
Yeah, you're right.
I would have been cared for.
Instead of, oh, fuck my mailbox.
Yeah. Literally those exact words.
It's fucking great. It's so funny.
Yeah, this middle of like the middle section of the episode is kind of a little bit muddied for me because it's just a whole bunch of like scenes really of Lisa just getting like worn down as a homemaker.
I thought, there was quite a good couple of scenes that sort of depicted that sort of level of degradation, I suppose, that she went through.
Yeah, because she's like got an apron on at the start of it and like sends them out the door for their lunch like they're school kids.
That was fucking funny. What was the conversation that Bart and Homer were having?
she gives them their lunch
says
and not to sell your
sandwiches for something.
Don't trade your fruit for fireworks, thinking that you obviously think it's going to be said to Bart, but Homer pipes up and says, "But Lenny got some new bottle rockets." Yeah. You stay away from Lenny.
And then Bart like dobs on him.
Bart wears your sweater, and he says, "Oh, I caught it on a nail and it unraveled." And Homer goes, "That's not true. He left it on the bus."
Yeah.
You squealer.
Yeah. Just like they're brothers essentially.
Yeah.
Like tattletales. Yeah, that was quite a cool moment.
It was a nice little scene. And then, yeah, she's, just like laughing at him. And then I think it cuts from there to maybe like a couple of days later when the house is in a little bit more like disrepair.
The chore hat.
Oh, the chore hat. That's right.
Yeah.
Practice. Oh, feed fish. I'll supervise.
Yeah. Can't you at least do the dishes? If I draw it out from the hat and it's not a practice, pulls it out. See, look. But that was a practice. Yeah, that was.
The system works.
Oh, so good.
And then I can't remember whether it's not the next scene. The next scene is Bart in the kitchen, and there's just fucking dishes like stacked halfway up to the roof.
I've got a quote here for that.
Bart, I told you to do the dishes. I'm letting them soak. They're rusted through.
It's an illusion. That was one of my favorite, I think, lines growing up. It's something I remembered constantly.
And a joke that he's specifically made to Lisa before.
Mm.
In the grifting episode.
I was going to say he chose to like ignore what she said and replace it with something of his own that
she says something about like, how'd your magic show go? And he was like, oh, it was great. And she's like, but you left your magic kit here. It's an illusion. And then they both walk out of the room.
Yeah, true.
So, yeah, same line to the same person trying to, cover for bullshit.
Yep. I like it.
And then it's the scene of them watching TV at night. And she's trying to go to sleep.
They're watching like one of Lucille Ball's
they're watching I Love Lucy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she made maybe 4 or 5 spin-offs of that show as well.
Heaps.
That's why she had so many last names.
She's one of the first widely regarded female comedic actors.
Okay. So it was like a pretty good cameo for the show to do.
Yes.
It wasn't voiced by her either.
And a dark way to do it as well, because it's just like a side-on view of them watching TV, obviously, and can't remember what the first person says, but she just makes that that noise that the show is well known for. That wah. Yeah. The other guy's like, "Gee, you hit it pretty hard there, Rick."
That's right.
Because it was based in the fucking what, the 40s, 50s,
50s,
yeah,
60s,
something like that. So it was, accepted then.
Mm. More put up with than accepted, I would say.
Yeah, tolerated.
Yeah.
By some people anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's trying to go to sleep and she yells out to them, "Can you guys turn that down?" And Homer says, "Honey, if we didn't turn down for the cops, what chance do you have?"
Oh. Then she drags a mattress off the bed and puts it against the door to sort of block the noise out.
Yep.
And that's when Lucille Ball's ghost talks to Lisa about ways to get Bart and Homer back for what they've been doing.
So she's obviously either A, dreaming or hallucinating from sleep deprivation.
Yeah, it's like a lucid dream maybe.
And they start having that discussion about what they can possibly do. And Lisa brings up an example of when you hidden the bongo drum and scared Ricky in that one episode of the show. And she's like, "Hey, stay away from the drums. That's my bit."
I think my favorite part of it was when she started whispering to Lisa what her plan was for Bart and Homer. Just she swallowed a mouthful of rocks and then told her. Just
even after the first
well.
line, she does that perfect smoker's cough of just
yeah. So the voice actor for that was Tress MacNeille, who does
a lot of these guest spots. Yeah,
and she's got such a fucking great range to be able to pull that sort of voice off as well.
Yeah, you're right.
Because that'd be harsh and demanding on the throat.
Yeah, very.
Agreed. So this is the next morning now, and overnight Lisa's put the oatmeal mixed with poster paint and it's a nice green color all over Bart and Homer while they slept, and they wake up just scared and disoriented, I suppose, about what's happened. They go up to Lisa as like the motherly figure of, oh, she'll know what to do. Takes her to the virtual doctor website.
WebMD or whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah. So you've got leprosy. Was actually voiced by Elwood Hughes Edwards, which was the voice actor for the AOL trademark. You've got mail.
Oh, right. I thought I recognized that voice.
Yeah. So they got him in specifically because they wanted to deliver that line in his voice.
Right.
Which is fucking
awesome. And then Homer's like shaking the computer like, help us, Doc. What are we doing? Goodbye. Puts down this briefcase and runs out the door.
Yeah. I thought that was reminiscent of Grandpa
running away? Maybe it is.
In like the very smallest
Even
way.
if it's not, it's still just fucking great. The fact that he's like, goodbye, drops it and runs.
You are hearing me leave.
You are hearing me walk.
Oh, God, that was a good conversation earlier. One day we'll bring it back up.
Well, if people decide to like write into the show and give us some interaction and stuff, we can afford to make a Patreon.
Yeah.
You can hear all the fuck shit that we say.
It's good.
Like my next note, Maud sucking off Ned's mustache.
Out of context, sounds awful.
It seems terrible.
Awfully good.
So Homer and Bart like go next door to the Flanders because they think like, oh, fucking Ned and Maud will help us because they're Christians or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're essentially just
begrudgingly they do
pouring at the door like zombies. And yeah, they let them in and like there's just like 2 or 3 separate scenes where they're like, he like tries to grab Flanders at first when he's in the suit. Then Bart goes inside and fucking mauls all the jello that Rod and Todd are eating. And Homer's like, Bart, leave some for Rod and Todd. Here you go, lad.
And he's like about to eat it and Maud brings the vacuum in and sucks the jello off.
Sucks the jello off, opens the vacuum and throws a match in there. Right. And it goes...
That was perfect. And then like as Flanders lets them in originally, he's like sort of covered himself up with a face mask and oven mitts and that sort of shit. And Homer like kisses him all over the face. And
he touches him all over the face.
Then the next scene.
Yeah, then he's got the face mask off for some reason and he says like, oh, we're not really set up for lepers, but we can like send you to this place that is essentially like, you know, for people that have this affliction. And he's like, oh, thank you, you beautiful man. He just starts kissing him all over the face. And Maud just pulls the vacuum up and sucks the mustache straight off his face. Oh. And he's still calm about it. He's just like, oh, that's smart.
Yeah, smart thinking or something like that, he says. But like, oh, God, that would hurt.
Oh, it sucks so much.
Oh, the coarsest of hairs.
And there's still just like a couple of hairs just like left.
Yeah. There was one really good quote that I don't want to leave out. So this is like Bart having the realization that he's got leprosy. And he says, why would God punish a kid? Pause. An American kid.
I have that written down as well because it was just such a like a throwaway line, but it's like, that's honestly the way that they think about themselves.
Yeah. Plus, like, I think it puts into perspective of like, God can do that to everyone else, but why Americans of all people? But it's like the disadvantages other countries have compared to what Bart thinks he's going through.
Yeah, it's just a very like first world perspective to have.
Yeah.
Of like, yeah, this isn't an American problem.
Yeah, correct.
Do you want to bring that up?
Yeah, so we sort of brought it up at like the top of the episode. This particular episode is banned in Japan, and it's because of its depiction of leprosy. So prior to this, I had no fucking clue about this. It was a major public health issue for years in Japan, where there's like apparently 13 national sanatoriums, 2 private hospitals that are fully dedicated to just like treating people with leprosy after World War II. Up until like the 90s and even like somewhere in the early sort of like 2020 area.
So it went on for like
a very
long good part of 80 years.
Yeah, very long time.
Fuck me dead. And
That's
leprosy
insane.
like is just like limbs dying and
Gangrene. Yeah.
gangrene. Yeah. So I've also got a note on the Japan banning this episode because of the leprosy depiction as well. According to Sherry Ross Altarik in her doctoral dissertation, the adaptation of US television in foreign markets, how France and Japan put their distinctive spin on The Simpsons. The reason behind this is that former segregation laws remain a sensitive topic in Japan, where litigation of leprosy cases and charges of human rights abuse by the Japanese government have ensued. At the time the episode aired in January 2000, the Japanese government was even facing numerous lawsuits from former leprosy patients, which began in 1998. These lawsuits would not conclude until 2001. So because like this episode must have been aired once, which was the same as the seizure robot one was only shown once. Yeah, they just got sued by lepers. Well, that's leprosy for you. I'd call it a friendship. Ooh, lost a nail. I've only got one other quote for the entire episode, but it's quite a good one. So like Marge comes home, Lisa's fixed the house up and whatnot, and then asks where Bart and Homer are. And Lisa says she doesn't know, like they've disappeared. Goes to the Flanders house, and he says he's like shipped them off to Hawaii or something on his own expense, which he could easily afford. But there was a really good quote. He says, "I guess we'll just have an imagination Christmas this year."
I got a pogo stick. I got a hula hoop.
Yeah.
Cuts the Marge. She's just like,
yeah. Yeah. Really good depiction of like their generosity.
Yeah.
And willingness to just help their neighbor, which I think is one of the commandments, isn't it? Love thy neighbor? Or is that like a made up commandment?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So he's fully bought into the Bible bashing by this point.
Oh yeah, it's just like an overly Christian thing to do, to put yourself out to like
help somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other parts of this episode that you want to touch on?
No, not really, because it's like like the end of it, it's they just get to that place in Hawaii, and then Lisa and Marge turn up and tell them they've been lied to the entire time. And Bart's like, we know. I was like, yeah, I figured it out when I ate one of my chest scabs.
Oh, disgusting.
Then then for some reason they need to continue on with like the electro needle therapy or whatever the fuck it is. So Homer goes and is in excruciating pain while there's this nice shot of everybody else on the beach. And that's the end.
Yeah. There was like a nice visual representation of what the island was meant to be depicted as at the start. Like dolphins were jumping out and making noises. There was a big rainbow, just like a paradise essentially.
Yeah.
And all they have to endure was 2 hours of excruciating pain
every
daily.
day. Do we get a nice view? Yeah, from the electric needle room.
Yeah, that was reminiscent of like the Froget scene.
It was a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. That guy's saying how terrible it is and Homer's seeing the good in it.
Yeah, and he's just like constantly reiterating like, you will be jabbed with needles. You dickhead.
But we get to do this, right? Oh, yeah. But lots of needles as well. Okay, but we still get to do this, right? And that's the end of that chapter.
Yes.
No kids, free money.
We'll return right now.
So we have had some more forced communication on our end. Because like we said, none of you fuckers are writing in yet. So until you decide to, we're just going to have to keep asking our friends. So Nick, avid listener of the show and hopefully future guest.
Oh, yeah.
I've tried to line it up like 3 times now, and I'll try and do it again tonight.
I mean, he wanted to, he just couldn't do it.
So on the, like in the category of quotes like that we use sort of daily or that come up constantly in our own heads in our daily life, he says that he uses the we've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas in relation to a bunch of his useless co-workers.
Yeah, perfect.
Which, as we spoke about earlier, you would be surrounded by an environment like that.
That was last week.
That was last week.
Yes. That was last week's episode that we talked about that.
That wasn't earlier.
Correct.
We're not wearing the same clothes in the same lighting, and I didn't change that, so it's fucking exactly the same. And
no one can tell the Mitchell-y difference.
Mitch just walks by the window.
We'll put him in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh.
Have you got anything else for that this week, or?
No, I didn't reach out to any thought hole prospects.
Okay.
I'll do that this week. I'll have a couple.
But yeah, like we said, there's an email there, nokids3moneypodcast@gmail.com. If you guys want to write in for any quotes that come up in your daily life.
So some of the questions that we are currently asking is what quote pops up in your everyday life that immediately makes you think of The Simpsons? So as Ned just said, Nick's one is we've thought of nothing and we're all out of ideas. There's also what quote do you find pops up in your day-to-day life more than any other? So there could be like several things. And if you had to choose one Simpsons quote to explain how your life is going right now, what would it be?
Right. And then the one that I did ask Dane as well to add on to that, which is even more niche, but I think these are the funniest situations, which I brought up one of them before, is when you're in conversation with somebody who isn't really a Simpsons fan and they say something that is pretty much word for word a quote.
Oh, yeah.
But you can't bring it up because then you're going to make it weird. Like, just, anytime if you've encountered one of those situations, please write in because they're fucking hilarious. When you're just like, and then you're like, oh, no, I can't because they're going to fucking think I'm autistic.
Yeah. And
more than I already am anyway.
Have you derailed the conversation because of you just couldn't hold in this Simpsons quote?
That too.
I've done that many
heaps of times. And then people just look at you like, what? And then you're going to be like, it's from The Simpsons. I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Say, don't worry.
Yeah. Speaking of not worrying.
Pole vaulting in the Helsinki Olympics. But there was a bump in the road. A bump named Seymour. The whole 9 months, Seymour had just laid there like a lump. Then this prenatal nitwit decides to do his Rockettes impression. Huh? Before he was even born, he ruined my life.
Yes, that involuntary preconscious reflex I made in utero was unforgivable.
Season 21, episode 11? 12?
Yeah.
12.
Alrighty.
Yeah, give me a synopsis so we can get this the fuck over with.
Strap in, Dad. It's coming. Episode is titled Boy Meets Curl. Synopsis reads, Homer and Marge try curling and discover that Marge is talented due to her experience sweeping floors. They are invited by Agnes and Principal Skinner to join their mixed curling team going to the Winter Olympics, which added the event as a demonstration sport. At the Olympics, Lisa begins collecting mascot pins. Performing well, the team wins the semi-final match, but Marge injures her right shoulder. They plan to forfeit the final match until Homer discovers that Marge has been hiding that she is left-handed. They return and win the gold medal. Meanwhile, Lisa is obsessed with pins, trades her pearl necklace for more pins. When Bart discovers what she did, he creates a fake pin and trades it to get her necklace.
God, even my fucking eyes glazed over listening to the fucking synopsis.
All right, so let's establish, like, straight up from the start that it's like the subplot is just fucking lazy. I don't even really want to talk about it past the point of, like, the only thing that I did like about it was there was this nice parallel in between that and the Bart Sells His Soul episode where Lisa goes and does something special. No, actually, there's an even closer parallel, right? Because there's that episode where Bleeding Gums Murphy dies.
Yep.
And Bart has that $500 because he eats the Jagged Metal Crustio and he doesn't know whether to spend it on a Steve Allen Pog or whether to...
Behold, the world's greatest Pog.
Or the album that Bleeding Gums Murphy recorded to give it to Lisa, which
Sax on the Beach.
Yes, which he eventually decides that that is the right thing to do. So this is, and it's not him like going out of his way particularly because he literally just steals half of Homer's face to make this pin. But I don't know, it's weird. It's like they kind of just they spend like most of that side plot focusing on the fact that Lisa is obviously supposed to be portrayed as like a drug addict in this like situation, then like Bart like taking some form of steps to try and help her through that and then just immediately fixing the situation. It seemed so fucking pointless to me to have this like whole like commentary on like this is what addicts are like and you know they need people to help them and then it's like oh but now it's just fixed because of this one little thing that somebody on the outside did. It's like that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Man, it's like I work with people who have been like, you know, like in rehab and jail and stuff like that. And it's like, it's a big fucking thing. I don't know. It's one of those things. It's a dark subject that it's fine to cover if you cover it in its entirety.
Yeah.
It's not fine to cover if you just use it as a fucking plot point for your own devices.
I think like, you know, the writing caliber of season 21 episode Simpsons writers. They're not going to tackle anything with any sort of like nuance or care or like.
But this is my point. They did it for 75% of the episode and then they just throw it out the window. They make all of these steps as if it's going to be like, oh, this is going to be like a nice like through line story about like an addiction and a recovery. And then it's just, oh, we'll make Bart do something like slightly conniving to make the whole situation right and completely fucking throw this out the window.
Yeah.
Lisa's not addicted to pins anymore and fucking, it's just lazy ass fucking story writing, man.
It's probably a hard one to really like start and finish in one episode. That's why it probably seems like that.
Then
and
why
is
do
like
it?
That. I agree. They could have done anything else. I think the
If I can come to this conclusion, why can't a team full of people who are paid to do this for a fucking living?
because they're stupid.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. I think as well we've touched on like Matt Groening and David X. Cohen doing Futurama past probably season 10, and Groening's probably focused more on producing and helping write that show than he is with The Simpsons because of how established it got in those 10 seasons before Futurama started. So I think that's why there was so many different writers that came in and so many different ideas. It's like the age-old saying of like too many chefs in the kitchen.
Yeah.
That's what it would be like, I assume, in a Simpsons writing room in this day and age, is because they're like, okay, well, the episodes aren't hitting as well as they used to when Matt and David were here, we assume. What can we do? And they're just like throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks, but what sticks is shit.
Yes.
Shit is sticky.
So yeah, I think that's like the last fucking point that I have on it, but yeah, that just felt lazy and fucking pointless to me.
Yeah.
To do that. Obviously there's some form of throwback to the first episode where they were experiencing marital troubles.
Yep.
But even then that's once again sort of slightly
It sort of got glazed.
just glazed over because it's like, oh yeah, they're having like a date night, which they find like important kind of thing. And I can't remember what happened because I actually like
Homer gets
doing
like
something.
stuck at work because Mr. Burns wants to take whoever he's with on a date and says that there's a leak in one of the main like heavy water flow tubes or something, and opens up these doors and it's just full of pipes, like obviously giving the essence of it's going to take forever.
Yeah.
And like Lenny and Carl are there and Homer, and they all walk in together, and then they presumably fix it, and Homer comes home way too late, and Marge is sitting on the couch watching TV, and she's like angry at him at first, but then he says, let's go and do this instead, and she comes around to it straight away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then they try to go and see a movie, which they immediately walk out of.
That wasn't bad.
Yeah,
Like,
that was a nice little joke.
it really depicted how movie theaters are, in my experience recently. Just there's always cunts that have no social awareness and no fucks given for people around them that'll like take a call in a movie, or talk loudly to whoever they're with, and it's just pain.
I remember the last time I went to a movie, I can't remember what I
You
was
nearly
saying.
killed a guy, I assume.
Oh, like I can't remember what it was, but there was just like groups of people, not even one specific group. It's like several groups of people just having full-on conversations. And it's like, what the fuck is this? Do that at home.
Yeah. One of the last, I've only seen a few movies in the cinemas in the last maybe 5 years. One of the last, not last ones, but one of the ones that I remember seeing was Terminator Dark Fate. And obviously I'm a big Terminator fan, so I was keen to see it. And I went on my own. I was that keen to see it.
Yep.
And like the cinema wasn't that packed, and two cunts sat in front of me. I'm like, fair enough. And then as the movie started, the guy's scrolling his phone already. And that just pissed me off because like his light was coming through into my face.
It's like, why the fuck would you pay to go and watch a movie?
I can one up you here. Like I went and saw, I think it was like me and my girlfriend went and watched the Barbie movie, right? It was like when that came out, because that was like a fucking huge thing when it came out.
Barbenheimer.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I did the double feature, like saw Oppenheimer and then watched Barbie. Barbie's fucking awful, by the way. It's fucking dog shit.
Yeah.
Like don't let any fucking aggregate review site tell you that that movie is good. It's fucking awful. There was just a kid in that screening of the movie. Mind you, I didn't really give a fuck at that point because the movie's just like boring and I'm like sort of just like detached from it anyway. Just watching TikToks full blast in the middle of the movie.
That's a paddling.
Like volumes like all the way up, and it's just like brain rot, like skibbity fart noises and shit. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. In that same Terminator movie that I saw, like as the dude was scrolling his phone, I sort of tried my best to ignore it, and I did for maybe 10 minutes until he answered a phone call and started talking as you normally would if you're on a phone call, like so people can hear you. I leant over and said, I paid to see this fucking movie. If you want to take a call, go outside.
Yeah.
He hung up immediately and didn't get his phone back out.
Yeah, because that's a normal person. Well, not a normal person because he was doing that shit beforehand, but a normal person that got snapped back to fucking reality.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
But like in your situation, you would have got in trouble. Like you can't just fucking, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, maybe like going a bit further, like 20 years ago, when we were kids, if we did that shit, our parents would smack us up the back of the head. And if they like weren't there and another fucking adult did it, their reaction would instantly be, well, what the fuck were you doing wrong?
Yeah.
Which is not always the best way to look at it, but 100% we were raised differently and with way more respect because of that.
Guaranteed.
Because now it's like, oh, you can't talk to my kid like that.
Yeah.
Well, do you want your kid to watch you lose a bunch of teeth in the car park, cunt, or what? Like, shut it the fuck up.
You're welcome, Dad.
You wanted me angry. You picked a good week.
Back to the show.
Yes. Well, yeah. What else is there to fucking talk about? It's an entire episode that just revolves around the same fucking point being made that never gets really resolved. So the entirety of the main plot is the fact that Homer's bad at curling and Marge is good, and they want Homer out of the team. But Marge likes Homer, so that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Then Marge realizes her other hand works just like her other hand.
Police, cops.
Just like if these people who wrote these episodes are still working, fire them now.
Yeah.
They don't deserve jobs.
Is this also just like one of those episodes that has like a weird amount of praise online, or
come on, hit me with it.
Let's hear it.
What I'm going to do first is get a few things out of the way that I wrote down. So there was a few quotes that I liked, and then just a few random things throughout the episode. So the first thing that I saw was like that weird speech / tirade Homer went on before getting on the ice, which sounded scripted.
Yep.
And it was Homer's speech before he and Marge began curling as a parody of the St. Crispin's Day speech from Kenneth Branagh's version of Henry V.
Why, St. Crispin's Day it is.
I was going to say that. You stole my bit. There was a scene, it was like a flashback for Agnes, and it showed her like in that old-timey war period of the black and white photos in newspapers. Of
Sepia tone
of like them like waving off their husbands to the war or whatever.
Yeah.
And she's kissing this guy, and the name on it was Soldier Boy. And then I just went, you!
Yeah. Which is immediately funnier than anything that happened in the episode.
That's why I wrote it down.
But canonically, that doesn't make sense. Skinner fought in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
She says that the man that she was seeing there went back off to the Korean War. I believe the Korean War happened after the Vietnam War?
Before.
Okay.
Like 20 years before.
Okay.
So it realistically makes total sense.
Wait, hang on. Was there there another Korean War?
No. So I think it's like the late 50s, early 60s was the Korean War, and then late 60s,
early 70s was
the
Vietnam.
War.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry. Go on.
Yeah. Where was I going with that? Okay. So the note I have written down is Seymour has been hated by Agnes since before he was born.
Yeah.
So like the duration of Agnes and Seymour's scenes in this are basically Agnes saying how much of a liability he's been his whole life in one way or another. So she's performing at the Olympics, which
She's
is
pole vaulting,
which is a through line to the Olympics being mentioned in the season 11 episode this week. Remember before they go skiing, the Naga whatever?
It is, yep.
Yep. So Agnes is pole vaulting whilst pregnant with Seymour, and she gets over the sort of jump bar. I don't know what it's called. The jump hole. And as she's going over it, she's clearing it, and then Seymour in the womb gets zoomed in on, and he like kicks, and it takes the bar off. And he said something really good in response to that, but I can't remember.
It cuts to him and he's sitting in the fetal position in a chair, and he says something about, he apologizes for the fact that an unconscious, like prenatal movement, like ruined her chance at Olympic gold.
But it's not even him.
Literally.
Yeah.
It's not even him.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
We just
That's
had
how.
the Armitage
Yeah, we're
Tamzarian
literally just talking
discussion.
about this like it's not him.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Fuck. I didn't even think
It's not
about
even
that.
the same fucking character.
She's senile. Who cares?
Show sucks now. Who cares?
Okay, I've got one quote here that I want to read out, and it's Agnes watching Marge and Homer become closer because of this curling. And she says, "That's love, Seymour. At least you got to see it before you died."
I'm glad that you got to see it one time before you died.
Yeah. And like she's had that persona her entire lifespan in this series.
Ever since she's been introduced, she's always hated him.
Yeah.
Which is like sort of maybe shown by the fact that like up until the point of the Armin Tanzarian episode, it's shown that she obviously doesn't know that it's like
an imposter.
Because yeah, he shows up at the door and she's just like Seymour kind of thing. So it's probably showing that she's pretty like senile at that point in time already.
Yeah.
But I feel like deep down she really knew it, which is why
She did
she's
say that in that episode too.
Yes.
Yeah. There was a reference to the Simpsons movie in this. So the medicine woman who appeared in the Simpsons movie appears in the streets of Vancouver, and Homer refers to her as his former therapist, which was just a fucking weird scene all in all.
Yeah, where they do that weird chanting thing back and forth again. And then he says, "How can I repay you?" And she says, "Pay your bill."
Yeah.
He says, "I didn't hear that last thing you said," and dried off.
There was that. A good sign gag when they came into Canada said, "Come for the tax benefits, stay for the marijuana."
Yep, I saw that.
And
Just believe I saw that.
Maybe not a shout out, but the Canadian equivalent of Millhouse.
Yep.
Can't remember anything that he said, but it was funny seeing that sort of paradox between Millhouse and Millhouse.
Have you got anything else?
The last thing was just
I don't want to step on your notes. It's the only thing.
step on my quotes. The last thing I've got written down is this was a rare instance of Seymour and Agnes having a nice moment together.
Yeah, it is.
So
yeah, right at the end of the episode.
After giving him shit the whole episode, she then sort of has a realization that she is quite harsh on him, and maybe reaffirms that she loves him or something like that. I can't really remember.
I can't remember exactly what she says, but it's something that Homer and Marge do that triggers it.
Yeah.
But the only other note that I have for the episode is there was definitely a through line with the opening ceremony for the Olympics.
Yeah.
With I can't remember exactly what joke they're making, like in that moment, but the overall joke that they're making is a through line back to the season 2 episode where Marge is explaining for 12 hours all the things that Homer does wrong, and her voice is hoarse and croaky and sore by the end of it. And then we get another time lapse like that where the dude is announcing every single country that's in the Olympics. And he's like, Algeria and Australia and all that. And then it gets to the end, he's like, Zimbabwe and shit like that. So that was a nice little touch, but yeah. Other than that, you can go and get yourselves fucked this week.
On to the critic reviews. There's a few of them. Do you want to hear all of them or just some?
I want to hear the most delusional ones.
Yeah, just give me the worst.
All right.
And then let's get out of here.
I've got 3 here, and then I screenshotted, so I guess I'll just read the 3 that I have. The episode received positive reviews from critics, and CTV reported that Olympic curlers...
Did you say CTE reporters?
CTV.
Oh, okay.
Reported
that would have made more sense.
CTV reported that Olympic curlers largely enjoyed the episode.
Whoa,
who the fuck cares?
All 3 of them?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So this was another real...
Top flight athletes.
High watermark in the show's entirety to them. So yeah, a lot of them were just like,
You're not an Olympian, cunt.
who?
A curler.
curler, yeah.
You're not an athlete. You're not a sports person. You do fucking aggrandized housework.
Shove that in your pipe.
Which is
and
literally
smoke
shown in this episode. The only reason that Marge is good at it is because she's been a homemaker her entire fucking life.
it. Yeah. So there was a lot of similar things, like gobbling up the cocks of whoever wrote this episode. Of like the curler audience loved it and raved about it, and I was like, there was maybe 5 or 6 of them. So I must have.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Okay. Let me go on.
Do they all talk to the same guy?
The one curler, maybe.
Yeah, it's professional curler. It just cuts away.
All right, the last 2. Robert Canning of IGN gave the episode an 8.4 out of 10, saying it was impressive and, with or without the timeliness of the story and setting, Boy Meets Curl was a fast and funny episode, certain to be a highlight of the season.
Wow, crazy. IGN with a fucking solid dog shit take.
Unfortunately, everyone at IGN is mentally inferior, and I don't respect their fucking opinion on anything, especially Simpsons.
Differently abled.
It's called International Gaming Network. You can't even do that right.
Well, they've even like recently they've had some like really fucking scoldingly bad takes.
I
on
can't
TV
wait to
shows.
see what they think about fucking the new Assassin's Creed, about how it's going to be this absolute cultural touchstone.
I think they gave it a 9 out of 10.
Oh, what a fucking surprise.
Yeah.
Even though literally every other cunt who's touched it goes, this is a pile of dog shit.
At least it's on brand.
Well, like a really recent one. We'll jump a little off topic. I don't know if either of you have watched Invincible.
I know enough about it.
Yeah, so the last episode of season 3 aired last week.
That dude got his face smashed in.
Yeah, it's fucking fantastic. Like, the episode is incredible. IGN gave it a 4.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, and I'm like, what?
I think as we've discussed with these critic reviews, we touched on like general public reviews are way more, appealing to look at instead of the critics, because if it's rated terribly by critics, as is this instance, it's usually quite good.
Yeah, I think there's like just a weird... I think it's also like partly rage bait as well, where I think like something is just awful, and yeah, like these like, you know, professional reviewers will go out of their way and just glaze it for the sake of just getting people to comment and just be like, oh, your opinion's wrong.
That's true. Like, any publicity is good publicity, I suppose.
Yeah.
And like, if you have a controversial view on something, as like, obviously it sounds like it was quite a well-made episode, or well-made whatever it was.
Yeah, best episode of the series so far.
Yeah.
Like, it's fucking great. But
yeah,
a 4, sort of like...
They just want those interactions.
100%. And that's literally all the interaction is. It's just like the, you know, people just like clowning on them for giving it a 4, and like...
Yeah.
It was, after it aired, like, I think the second highest rated episode of television on IMDb.
Fuck.
Like, ever. It's like after Ozymandias from Breaking Bad.
I was going to say
which
that
is
would
like,
have been top.
It's like the best episode of television, period.
Yeah. Insane.
That's right, because that's what I saw the other day. Yeah, that was literally like rated with like Battle of the Bastards and all those kind of things, like the top rated fucking episodes of TV of all fucking time.
Right.
So the fact that someone's like, I don't like it,
but
no one can be objective about anything.
Yeah.
Anymore, ever. It's like, I don't know. It's like not all the time, even though your job is completely opinion based, not like every single instance that you do your job shouldn't include your opinion.
Yeah.
Because sometimes your opinion is backwards and dumb and based in a bunch of bullshit that you don't understand. So it's like, I don't know. Some things need to be commented on, and then some things like it's one of those things. It's like if you look at something and it's got a fucking like a 9 out of 10 everywhere else, and then you just do it for the fact of trying to be contrary, or well, like you said, as I was like going to the bathroom before, a lot of it is just rage bait. It's like that person probably did enjoy the episode, but they probably looked at every other review and went, how can I stand out from this?
Exactly.
Like literally just glaze the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, it's the fucking peak Simpsons or whatever. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
everything is just outrage culture. Exhibit A.
Another review, sir. Please.
Please.
I've been waiting to use that quote.
Stop. He's already dead.
All right, this is the last piece, and then we'll get out of here. The writers use some artistic license because although curling is an Olympic sport, mixed doubles, which is featured in the episode, was not an Olympic event at the time of airing and made its Olympic debut 8 years later. Is this another instance of The Simpsons predicted it moment?
I wish they hadn't.
And then furthermore, the episode gained attention in 2018 after the Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang when the United States defeated Sweden in men's curling to win the gold medal, with writers commentating how The Simpsons predicted a US upset over Sweden 8 years prior.
I have one thing to say about that review.
It stinks.
Who the fuck cares? Shut up.
Yeah. Well, actually,
Bring that on the soundboard for sure.
100%. That was making a debut next week.
Yeah, funny you bring that up. That was a real life through line that happened to me a few weeks ago. I told someone that I like Pokemon, and then they just sent that screenshot back to me. I was like, good. I like that. Anyway.
Fuck, actually got him.
Oh, yeah. It was perfect.
The flirting is also cursed. Can I bone now? All right, you can find this episode on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Maybe Instagram by the end of April. We'll see how we fucking go. Depends if Zuckerberg wants to play ball or not. Choke you out, you little fuck. Email nokids3moneypodcast@gmail.com, and we'll speak to you guys next week.
Goodbye.
You're not mad at me, are you?
So we asked ourselves, who's behind the badge? Police cops? Police cops.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing about that is